I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle. And thank you for being with us tonight, as always. Leaks and losing streaks. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now we know that while the entire press corps and the political class were obsessed with the Trump Mar-a-Lago documents case, the Biden administration allowed the United States to be subject to one of the most disastrous intel leaks in U.S. history. Roughly 100 pages of documents that we know of were posted online, revealing critical military assessments of friends and foes alike, such as U.S. efforts to spy on its allies, Israel and South Korea, the degree to which the U.S. has penetrated Russia's government, and that Ukraine will fall well short of its counteroffensive goals at retaking Russian-occupied territory. Whoops. Well, my friends, this is devastating, and it tells the world that, once again, we can't keep our own house in order, our own secrets secure. Now, even Axios tonight, one of the establishment's most loyal supporters in the media, just posted a story admitting that the leak is swiftly unfurling into a debacle for the Biden administration, which is struggling to provide answers to Congress, the public, and U.S. allies. And it also tells us that Biden's triumphant confidence in Ukraine 2 months ago, well, was a total lie.
Ukraine continues to defend itself against the Russian onslaught and launch counteroffensive of its own. President Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail, and the Ukrainian people's love for their country will prevail.
And, of course, none of this will stop the Biden administration and its enablers from distorting the reality in Ukraine, as they've done since the beginning.
Ukraine makes advances on the ground, retaking territory even as Russia tries to recalibrate.
Not only will Ukraine emerge sovereign and independent when this is over, but Moscow will emerge weaker.
When Ukraine's forces are given state-of-the-art weapons from the West, they're putting them to very good use. They know how to win.
Ukraine is winning on the battlefield.
How are these people still employed? They're wrong every single time. Now, of course, you should expect that the White House and most of the regime media will do everything that they can to downplay the significance of this massive intel breach.
I've been convening senior department leaders daily on our response, and I've directed an urgent cross-department effort.
We have engaged with allies and partners at high levels over the past days, including to reassure them about our own commitment to safeguarding intelligence.
It would appear to me, though, that this is not as serious a breach, at least from what we know publicly so far.
Yeah, clapper, clap on, clap off. Now, the argument that the media outlets shouldn't be publishing this information, all that downplaying notwithstanding, the argument that the public should know about this is completely ludicrous.
Without confirming the validity of the documents, this is information that has no business in the public domain. It has no business, if you don't mind me saying, on the pages of front pages of newspapers or on television. It is not intended for public consumption, and it should not be out there.
Newsflash, John. The info is already out there. Our allies, our adversaries, they already have it. But the United States, the voters, are supposed to not know any of it? Keep it from the American people? For what reason exactly? Well, I'll tell you for what reason. To help Biden's re-election chances, naturally. Once again, we see the Biden administration being run by a team of incompetents. Now, remember this. No one was punished when they bungled the Afghanistan withdrawal, where 13 service personnel were killed after being left as sitting ducks at the Kabul airport. And the fact is, mistake after mistake by these buffoons have flattened both our domestic and our foreign policy position. Now, remember, the elites, they don't sweat what happens to America between now and 2028. As long as Biden is reelected, they're okay. That is literally all they care about. They don't care, certainly, if the United States is humiliated on the world stage. So, per usual, after one of the worst violations of our military secrecy, no one will be fired. And like the Dobbs decision, we'll never find out who leaked the documents. I mean, do you really think Austin is going to be on the case with the DOJ? Oh, please. And we're never going to have the true story about how bad it really is, how many informants went cold, how many agents' lives were jeopardized or even lost. But while the administration can try to hide the truth from the American people, it can't fool the rest of the world. Both our foes and our few remaining friends know that the United States under Joe Biden has become sort of a paper tiger that's lost touch with its power, has lost its prestige, and its prosperity. That's why you see our former allies rushing for the exits. They know as well as we do that America's claim to be a superpower, it can't survive much more of this, certainly not with China ready to fill the vacuum with its freedom-crushing crusades around the world. So yes, we can spy on people, but how helpful does it end up being when it's all leaked anyway? And as the Angle has told you repeatedly, the people Biden has put in charge of our national security are total and complete dolts.
I don't know if there are other documents that have been online before. These are things that we will find out as we continue to investigate. They were somewhere in the web, and where exactly and who had access at that point, we don't know. We simply don't know at this point.
They're in the web. You might think it's on the web, but they're somewhere in that web, the worldwide. Now, as far as the Angle is concerned, the U.S. at this point is essentially defenseless. Now, sure, we have incredible military hardware, although a lot less than we had before Iraq, before Afghanistan, and before Ukraine. But we don't have those precious commodities that seem few and far between these days. We don't have leaders. So we end up in a situation where the most powerful nation on earth, or what we used to be, didn't have the ability to stop China from sending balloons to traverse the United States. And again, no one's ever fired. The entire point of a military, remember we spend about $800 billion a year on our military, the military's point is to be a deterrent. And right now they're not deterring anyone. China's worried about the U.S. views on Taiwan as much as I care about Liz Cheney's views on the GOP. Nevertheless, their recent aggressive drills near Taiwan, they're not just playful prodding.
China's fighter jets fly around Taiwan's skies. Military ships sail off its coast. China says it's simulating precision attacks on key targets in Taiwan. Its military released this animation showing missiles fired from land, sea, and air into Taiwan. 2 of them explode in flames.
And the best we can do is reciprocate by having our own military drills with the Philippines, our close ally in the region. So at this point, it is pretty easy to conclude that Taiwan is almost doomed. But despite what some neocons like John Bolton suggest, I say no troops in Taiwan, nothing at all for Taiwan until we revoke the most favored nation trade status for China. It's literally insane to ask American troops to be in a country at the same time we're funding an army that is about to attack that same country. But instead of learning from past mistakes, Biden just stumbles along. When his people can't get China to return his call, which they can't right now, they just beg harder and they look more desperate.
Why hasn't he just picked up the phone and called President Xi to say, knock it off?
The president looks forward to having another conversation with President Xi. And we'll do that at the appropriate time. We'd like to see this relationship get onto a better footing. And when it's appropriate for the 2 leaders to talk, then that'll happen.
Not being called back, they're being ghosted. Now, at no level of this administration do we find true confidence. And most of the time, voters are simply left in the dark about what's really going on. They'd rather have you focus on things like Dylan Mulvaney, transgender activists in Tennessee, or whether Harry and Meghan are going to Harry's dad's coronation. They'd rather destroy the entire country than address real problems in real time. Now, Trump tried to fix all of this and was making real progress, especially on trade and on China. And for that, he was a real threat to the folks who normally run America. The real threat, however, is in the possibility that the man who is barely coherent, who shuffles instead of walks, could actually be reelected in 2024. So we must insist that the press publishes everything already in the public domain that helps Americans understand the stakes here. That includes these intel leaks. The Angle warned you about China, about Milley, about Austin, Chris Wray, and yet too many suburban women and independent voters in key states, they didn't care. The sad truth is that the Angle believes Biden and company, they've already given up on America. They think that the United States is too far in the hole to climb out, meaning a managed decline is really the most compassionate way forward. And the rest of the world, they see that America is waning. Our own allies, the second biggest economy in the EU, France, is already sided with China. So, my friends, here's the bottom line. The United States is facing the biggest geopolitical crisis any of us has seen in over 40 years. And right now, our leaders are completely incapable of defending our interests. If we, the people, do not demand better leadership, if this group is reelected and given 4 more years to damage our interests, the long-term harm to the United States and to all of us who live here will be crippling. And that's the Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.